You guys must have heard about Jurgen Klopp in Liverpool's rock and roll football, but it was Ricky Ponting in Delhi Capital's rock and roll cricket out there, and we'll tell you all of this and much more on Criclytics Man vs. Machine. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's that show where we catch up with Brian Lara post-match to really check out if he got his predictions right in terms of competing with the robot. Basically, our Criclytics projection, which is the world's best algorithm in terms of everything. So let's get Brian's thoughts about this right now. We'll jump straight right in. It was a successful run chase, the third highest against CSK, believe it or not. Brian, what did you make of it all? Let's get your thoughts first and foremost.
Oh, well, there's a lot of huff and puff about the toss, and I only just realized that it was very, very important. I felt that 188 runs is a good score in any T20 game on any ground, with any conditions that were pending or for or against the team. But the Delhi Capitals made light work of that total, and they cruised to victory. Just the loss of a couple of wickets, and it just says to me that CSK did not play their best cricket. Few things to smile about, but I feel that you're seeing the same sort of trend, the same individuals performing for them. Delhi Capitals were pretty convincing with a team that was missing three or so really top class players. So it was a great game of cricket. It's still just the second game of the tournament, and we saw a game yesterday that went down to the last ball. Now we see a comfortable victory with a much larger total. Teams are playing on neutral grounds, so you're going to get that, and you're going to get a few surprises. But it was a very interesting game of cricket for me.
Yeah, you touched upon a few things to smile about from the CSK perspective. Let's, of course, talk about their innings, because, of course, they lost two quick wickets. Faf du Plessis going early, and, of course, Ruturaj Gaikwad as well. But I want to talk about phases of play right now, Brian. In that middle over session, Raina came back and really turned back the clock big time, and he was giving great company by Moeen Ali.
Yeah, that was a very important innings. It sort of repaired the damage, and you felt that the momentum was now heading in their direction until Moeen Ali played that really unthinkable shot. He just had a couple of big lashes, and you felt that this is enough in the over, but he kept going. And but the damage of the early wickets, the fact that you had to repair that damage on a surface that was only getting better, G was going to introduce, which is going to make it easier for the team that was chasing. Raina was special, I must say. Missed all of 2020 IPL, came back, got a 50, and he must be pretty happy with that sort of start. I think it's something that can maybe signal a good run of form for him during this IPL.
Yeah, talk about laying down markers. I think he's done that exceptionally well, considering he was 16 of 16 and then really went into fifth gear to get his 50, like you mentioned. Of course, a word on the Delhi Capitals bowling and how they pegged it back to 180, because at one stage it was looking that CSK would get to that par 200. A word on Avesh Khan, because no Rabada, no Nokia. How much did the young Indian pacer impress you, Brian? Because he bowled exceptionally well up front, and especially in the death as well.
Avish was good. Chris Wilkes also given an opportunity, but to pick up those two early wickets was always very important. And you just look at the different run rate and you compare them, and you realize that at no point in time Delhi was behind, and they scored very freely. And there is a little bit of advantage at Wankhede Stadium for that team batting second. The pitch plays better, there's a little bit of dew, and chasing is very, very difficult for the captain in the field to defend the total. And it was good cricket from Delhi Capitals. And the two matches that we've seen so far, there have been a lot of drop catches, something that we are not accustomed to in the IPL. You see magnificent fielding, they have so much highlights. And I think that's going to improve as well.
Yeah, and they don't even have that excuse of last season to bring the ring of fire from Dubai. I think a lot of players blame the floodlights around. But let's move on. Jokes apart, of course. Delhi Capitals registering a hat-trick of wins, of course, tonight. But where do CSK go from here? Of course, 7th last season, Brian. Where did it go wrong for them? Was it just the fact that they let the game drift with Shikhar and Prithvi putting up that amazing opening run stand?
I think they've got to look at their team. They've really got to see if they could inject some life in their bowling. Now, there's no team playing the IPL that will have players of the same ilk. You have Dwayne Bravo, you have Sam Curran, and you have Jadeja, left-arm spinner. All guys who are, above average with bat and ball. There are no specialists in any way of any of those characteristics or facets of the game, but they do produce. They do produce, but I have a funny feeling that their batting is so long. You're getting 189. I've seen it even in the 2020 IPL where they batted and Dwayne Bravo did not have an opportunity to bat. So, well, you'll think that if Dwayne Bravo didn't have the opportunity to bat, then they would have enough runs. Well, they didn't because they don't have the potent bowling attack that they need to. So, are they going to sacrifice one of those guys, or are they going to sacrifice someone else? For me personally, I think it's Faf du Plessis. I think Faf du Plessis, even last year in the IPL, he had a couple starts. He was their top run scorer, but he was not doing it in a fashion that was going to win them matches. Sam Curran had the opportunity to open, back up the order. I feel that somehow that these guys are very good with the bat, even a little bit better with the bat. Jadeja, Sam Curran. So you have a big, long batting order, and you're not getting sufficient runs, and you don't have the bowling attack to defend it. You've got to get a specialist bowler in. You've got to get an international bowler in that's going to create havoc in the opposition batting lineup. That's what they don't have at present.
And who would that be in your opinion? Because let me just give you the options. They have Lungi Ngidi, who of course specializes in those cutters, but they also have got a blessing in disguise in Jason Behrendorff. Would you take a punt with the latter?
Yeah, I think you'd want somebody with genuine pace. And there was that Hazelwood pulling out at the last minute. But any one of those two guys, I just want to see somebody with the ball in their hands that's going to threaten the opposition's batting lineup, especially up front. And they did not have that tonight. And that's for me, it's going to be one of the all-rounders or Faf du Plessis making way for that player.
Okay, those are the words to watch out from Brian Lara. Faf du Plessis gets the axe from him, but only time will tell, of course, if MS Dhoni sides with those thoughts. Let's now, of course, get into the prediction side of things, and this is where it gets really fun. Brian, I can see you smile away because I think you got the rub of the green against the machine the last time out, but is it your turn again tonight? We'll start off with the batsman, and of course the machine went for Faf du Plessis. Terrible choice by Criclytics over there. And then you went for Rishabh Pant. However, he did perform well. The ultimate top batsman in this match was Shikhar Dhawan. A word for Dhawan, please, and also a word on you against the machine here.
Well, I think it was a tough night for both of us, and both myself and the machine. But Shikhar Dhawan batted well, and they would need that opening partnership to strike a lot of times. They're missing Shiasaya, and they would need Prithvi Shaw to bat the way he did. And I was very happy to see that he'd made some changes with his technique. He's getting closer to the line of the ball. He's getting his head over the ball, and there's an opening batsman that's going to get balls swinging and seaming. You need to play as close as possible to your batting pad and strike the ball. And he did that very well today. But Shikhar Dhawan, the consummate professional, the man who has played for quite a few IPL teams, is now back at Delhi and has been there for a couple of years, but he's really showing that he's willing to lead this batting lineup, and it was a tremendous innings. And at one point, the equation had it that he could have gone on to get 100. It would have been a magnificent 100 after the back-to-back hundreds in the last IPL.
Yeah, I was just going to come to that. 101 against CSK at Sharjah was almost a repeat of those highlights. Let's, of course, move on to the next part, and that is, of course, with regards to the bowler picks and who would take more wickets with regards to this. It was Deepak Chahar and what Criclytics said, and you said Ravichandran Ashwin. Both of you are wrong again, so I'm going to hold you all hostage. The pick of the bowlers was, of course, Chris Woakes. Now, he made that Wankhede pitch out there look like Lords earlier on. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I mean, he got the early wickets. He bowled well. He put the ball on the spot. But I think when you're having these comparisons or these selection, you got to give us the entire team to pick from, because you're earmarking certain players. So first of all, if I do have the entire team to play from, I'd make my better choices. I'm putting in an objection very early. But getting back to Chris Works, I felt that he bowled well. It was good condition early up for the bowlers, and he used it well and sort of pushed CSK back on the back foot, and pretty much what should have been 200 plus turned out to be 188 and not enough for CSK.
Yeah, and we'll take that confession on board. I promise you that. We'll give you a plethora of options going into next game, so you have pretty much a lot of players to choose from. Let's move on to the all-rounders. And Brian, this is where you went 1-0 up, and it was pretty much thanks to Marcus Stoinis. Ask me why, because he chipped his wicket away, and that meant Sam Curran would take more the catch, because batting wise there was nothing to split with them. So you absolutely did well in this one. A word in Sam Curran, because you backed him to of course be the man of the match. Wasn't to be, but he still had a lot to offer in those in the death overs.
He's a tremendous player. Doesn't look much. When you look at him, you think you give him the ball and you have never seen him before, but he can't get me out. Or you give him the bat and you think, well, he's not going to strike it out to the park. But for a little man, he does a very good job. And I've gained a lot of respect for him over time. And he's an international player for England. One of the best limited overs team in the world, be it T20 or the 50th version. He's in there. So, he performed really well. And I don't know what kind of phone call is going to happen tonight between him and Tom, his brother. But he took him apart in that over and, really and truly gave CSK a little bit of the innings, a little bit of impetus. And, he's be somebody to watch out to for the rest of the tournament. I think at every single game, he seems to play it 110%. And that's a great player to have in your team.
Yeah, that phone call will certainly be special, filled with banter. Let's move on to the wicket-keepers finally, because this is where the machine finally got one right in the night. It said Rishabh Pant. You echoed those thoughts with the robot. So right now the score stands 2-1. A word on Rishabh Pant, because he didn't do much. But do you think tactically, did you see anything in the field with his captaincy, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough conditions even for the bowlers after a period of time. It was easy to knock the ball around, but he did the damage early up. He had the right bowlers on, he got the wickets, and at the end of the day, that was the difference in the match. The fact, and even Dhoni said it in the post-match presentation, that the pitch was tacky. It was difficult to bat in that first half an hour, 45 minutes. And if you lose the opportunity to cash in on the power play, you can lose the match. And you look at the difference with Shikhar Dhawan and Prithvi Shaw batting, it looked like a road. The ball was coming onto the bat, they were striking it well, and there was nothing in it. So I think Prithvi Shaw winning the toss and electing to field first was the right decision. The bowlers backed him up with early wickets, and I think he should be proud with his performance as a leader. Not much with the bat, not much was needed, but a great performance by Delhi Capital.
Right, and finally, of course, we'll throw out that big graphic which really shows why Brian Lara is the man to really give the robot a run for the money, because you called wrong in terms of the result, but so did the machine, which means you won this 2-1. And it also has to be said that you were exceptional in that first game. So overall, your tally stands higher than the robot. What do you have to say, Brian? Because it does prove that you are human with making a mistake or two, but it also proves that you're better than the machine.
I'm not sure I'm better than the machine. Churning out numbers, the machine's going to get it right. It's just a situation where teams are playing in neutral venue. They are not accustomed to, yes, they may have one game a year at that particular venue, but they're playing now at venues where, they're not accustomed to. Rishabh Pant said something very, very interesting. He said, we are going to get good wickets now. We are not in Delhi. Well, his team showed that they enjoyed playing at Wankhede Stadium. So all of these things have to come in. So it's going to be a situation where the machine would need a little bit of massaging. I would need a little bit of massaging to get into this competition, to really and truly find out who are the teams that are actually going to excel. CSK does not look like a bad unit. They've got a lot of players. If you give them a mark out of 10, you would say, okay, 7, 8, all through the lineup. They need a couple really good match winners that are just going to take the game away from the opposition. They don't have those players. If they can get them, or if they can perform better as a group, and get more from each and single and every player, you can see them maybe getting a little bit better, getting some momentum in the tournament, and maybe coming out to the back end and qualifying. I don't think you should give up yet on CSK.
I'll tell you what, people listening in Chennai, just play that on loop at least for the next 5 times to just take away the painful defeat today, because Brian Lara still believes in MS Dhoni and his men. Brian, it's been fun yet again to chat with you, and yet again you turned out victorious. Hopefully that should be going in terms of IPL 2021. Thanks a ton, Brian Lara, and of course we'll wrap up this post-match show. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Brian Lara coming out victorious over the robot in this one. Only time will tell, of course, if Criclytics does bounce back, and you bet it will, because cricket.com is a stellar app. Download it right now. We'll see you in the next one.